Welcome to my show. I'm Driti Atri, and here are the biggest stories that are making headlines across the globe today. So let's start with it. Iran threatens Tel Aviv. Iran has issued one of its sharpest threats yet, warning that any US attack would drag Tel Aviv as well. Well, this message is intended as both deterrence and psychological pressure. It signals that Tel Aviv sees no such thing as limited strike here. The world is now questioning if tensions could spiral into uncontrollable conflict or not. US military reviewing strike option. Reports indicate that US military planners are considering fresh strike strategies against Iran. Now, this is a response to rising proxy clashes and regional tension. While no official action has been taken, though, assets are being repositioned. Allies are on alert, understanding the gravity of the potential confrontation. Iran rejects limited engagement. Iran has made it absolutely clear that any attack, no matter the scale is, it would trigger the full scale retaliation. Now, this is a strategic messaging aimed at preventing a quick war scenario. Well, Israel could become direct target if escalation occurs. Iran wants the cost of any attack to appear unbearable. Rising US military pressure here, the US has been reinforcing its presence across the Middle East, including the Carrier Group and Rapid Response Forces. Tehran intercepts this as a preparation for military action rather than deterrence. Iran's warning aimed to prevent Washington from assuming a quick surgical strike is possible. Now, this pressure intensifies the risk of miscalculation. Iran signals wider consequences here. Tehran has warned that countries supporting an attack may also face repercussions here. This is a signal to regional allies and nations who are hosting the US bases. Energy routes, shipping lanes, markets, all can be disrupted. So, here's the implication: a regional conflict could rapidly escalate globally. Door to diplomacy still open. Despite its threat, Iran insists that it is willing to negotiate. However, they demand no threat or military pressure. Now, this dual messaging is classic strategy signaling. Iran is preparing for conflict while leaving space for dialogue. Tel Aviv as a strategic symbol here. Threat against Tel Aviv, they are not really random. The city represents economic and national strength. Targeting it maximizes psychological impact. Iran wants to deter any US aggression by showcasing potential consequences. The message is this: attacking Iran comes with massive cost. US faces a dangerous choice. Washington must decide between acting against Iran or holding back. Action risks a regional explosion, while restraint risks appearing weak. Both the options carry strategic danger. Well, the interconnected Middle East and global market amplify the stakes here. Israel on high alert. Israel's layered missile defense system, they are in place, but no shield is perfect, right? Prevention and deterrence are their primary focus. Any miscalculation could have devastating consequences. The margin for error remains razor thin. Middle East power balance at risk today. The crisis is more than US Iran tension. It affects regional power dynamics, nuclear anxieties, and proxy network complicate the calculation. Here, global energy security is at risk. One spark could reignite wider conflict. History of miscalculation. Often wars begin not by design but by mistake. Militaries moving, rhetoric hardening, and multiple red lines create instability. A single word read can trigger escalation here. Iran and the US are now navigating this dangerous environment. Russia secures Syria. Putin hosted Syria's transitional president in Moscow to formalize Russian military presence. Khamemim Air Base and Tortoise Naval Base, they were the central of the discussions. Russia aims to remain a permanent power broker in the Middle East. Well, the fall of Assad has not weakened Moscow's influence. Syria rebuilding amid the diplomacy. Al-Shara emphasizes that reconstructing Syria's infrastructure and economy is very important. Rebuilding requires external partners, and Russia wants to be a key player here. Syria seeks balance, cautiously engaging both Moscow and Washington. Here, every diplomatic step carries long term consequences. Justice and accountability in Syria. Al Shara raised the need for accountability for victims of the Assad era. This introduces a delicate diplomatic balancing act with Russia. Historical grievances could reshape the foreign relationships here. Syria is navigating both reconstruction and reconciliation simultaneously. Putin's strategy goal. Russia aims for strategic permanence, global signaling, and power projection. Bases in Syria extend operational reach beyond the borders. Moscow wants to remain central in Middle Eastern security calculation. Now, this particular thing ensures influence even amid leadership change. US dilemma in Syria. Washington opposes Russian control but challenging Moscow risk confrontation here. Allowing Russian presence, it risks further influence, while the US faces tough decision in maintaining the regional leverage. Syria has become a chessboard for great power rivalry. China also steps in, by the way. Yes, at the United Nations, China warned the US against military action. Beijing stressed that Middle Eastern conflict affect global trade and oil. China's message is strategic, not ideological. They have deep economic stakes in the region. Iran warns of full-scale war. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei declares that any attack would trigger war. Tehran refuses to differentiate between limited strike and full-scale attack. Missile retaliation and regional escalation, they are eminent to threats. Well, this particular message, it heightens the tension for the US forces who are stationed nearby. US troops deployment between 30,000 to 40,000. US troops, they are stationed across the Middle East. Now, these forces are within the range of Iran's drones and short-range missiles. Here, forward deployment is meant as deterrence but raises the accidental war risk. Every single day brings potential confrontation. Iran's asymmetric warfare. Iran has invested in armed drones, precision-guided missiles, and swarm tactics. Asymmetric warfare allows Iran to counter the US superiority efficiently. These low cost, high impact strategies aim to deter the preemptive strikes here. Modern battlefields now rely as much on the psychology as firepower. Preemptive action options. That's right, Trump retains the option for preemptive action against the threats. This doctrine signals deterrence to adversaries. It ensures that Iran knows the US can strike first if necessary. Military planners use this language very carefully to influence the calculation. Leadership uncertainty in Iran. Any sudden change in Iran's supreme leader could destabilize the region. Internal power struggle or opportunistic move could trigger unpredictable military behavior here. Well, Marco Rubio, he emphasizes the lack of the clear roadmap here. Uncertainty itself increases the risk of escalation. Darwin Port controversy. Australia's port of Darwin, leased to a Chinese company for 99 years, has become strategically contentious. Canberra is reconsidering its national interest amid the growing security concern. Now, here, China warned against reversing the agreement, amplifying economic consequences. Well, this affects the clash between security and trade priorities. United States Marines in Northern Australia. That's right. Northern Australia hosts rotating US Marines and joint exercises. Proximity to Chinese infrastructure heightens the strategic sensitivity here. Defense planners worry about dual use assets near the adversaries. Well, the Indo Pacific security calculus is increasingly complex. Iran unveils drone carrier. Iran launched the IRIS Shahid Bagheri, basically a dedicated naval drone carrier. This vessel acts as a floating launch pad for the UAVs and loitering munition as well. The particular move demonstrates Iran's asymmetric naval strategy. It sends a clear deterrence message to the US Navy. Strait of Hormuz, global pressure point. Well, the Strait of Hormuz is a critical corridor for one-fifth of the global oil supply. Tensions over here has worldwide economic implication. Any misstep could spike oil prices and disrupt the trade. Both Iran and the US understand that the stakes are high. Swarm warfare threat. Iran's drones can overwhelm defense system in swarm attacks. Even advanced US vessels face the risk if multiple drones penetrate defenses. Modern naval combat is evolving towards cheap, autonomous, and high impact tactics. Perception of risk is as powerful as firepower. Psychological warfare intensifies. Iran's public drone displays are meant to intimidate as much as defend. Broadcasting capabilities to global audience, it amplifies strategic pressure. The Shaheed 136, well, it shows readiness and mock the US limitation. Narrative dominance is now a key battlefield. Modern warfare evolves. Power is no longer measured only in missiles or ships. Autonomous weapons, cyber capability, and swarm drones, they shape the modern conflict. Small, cost-efficient threats, they can challenge even superpowers. Strategy increasingly blends optics with the real-world capability. Global tensions at the crossroad here. Well, the Middle East is a tightly coiled spring with multiple actors signaling strength. US, Iran, Israel, Russia, China all are actively shaping the outcomes. Every maneuver increases the risk of miscalculation. Well, the world watches, hoping restraint prevails over impulse. And with that, that's a wrap up of our 30 news bulletins from around the globe. I'm Driti Atri on TimesXP to give you all the latest updates that matters the most. See you tomorrow.